Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of the 12 Creations of Christmas. I'm one of the hosts of the project, and in this video I'll be going over how I built my part in the level. So my part consisted of the 5th part in the level, which was made in collaboration with a handful of other creators. Originally we were supposed to do a trio part between me, Yedamame, and Matthew, but later on some other creators ended up contributing to the part too. Now, since Yedamame's job was to make the block designs, my task was originally just to make the background for the second half of the part. So, when he finished his designs and sent me the level, I was presented with this. The designs were really clean and completely encapsulated my vision of the part, which was going to be a village leading into a toy workshop. So, I got started with the background. Now, if you know me as a creator, you'll know that I'm not exactly on par with most of the other members in this level, so I was pretty worried that I wouldn't perform so well. I did consider myself an art creator, but the last art level I had made was Clairvoyance, which was... In fact, I hadn't actually created much in the past year, only making 2 collab parts, both being in the rainbow effect style. So my first idea was to make a village with the mountains behind it, but after about an hour of trial and error, I ended up scrapping it. My next idea was to make a train station, so I got a couple references and started building a train. I started off by making a base shape, which I then copy-pasted to make the overall base of the train, and after that, I spent about an hour to make the wheels of the train. I tried making them as detailed as I physically could, and I'd say they look pretty cool. Afterwards, I made the rest of the train by adding some details such as windows, coloring some stuff, and adding some text. After trusting the process for another hour or so and adding some more variations, it was starting to come together. The only issue was that it was kinda object heavy. And let's just say some people weren't huge fans of unoptimized art. But anyway, I just figured I'd optimize the thing later, so I went ahead and tried implementing the train into the background of the part. This unironically looks so ass. Now at that point, I had spent nearly the entire day making this train, and it didn't even look good. So I did the one thing that would make sense at that moment. The next morning, after a good night of sleep, I woke up with a new idea. So I grabbed my iPad, opened GD, and... Yup, I decided I'd start fresh. Okay, well, I didn't actually start completely from zero. I kept the ground Yedamame made and the train itself. I also kept some assets from Yedamame's block designs. Now, my new idea was to make a part completely centered around the train itself, kind of like that one part in Astrolith. The first thing I did was to rotate the screen slightly to the right so that I could create the illusion of going downhill. After that, I decided to recolor the train entirely, making it red and green instead of that moldy yellow color from before, just so it encapsulated the Christmas theme better. Afterwards, with some help from Goober, I added a snowstorm effect with some particles. Following that, I spent some time deciding whether I wanted to have the train go faster than the cube or not, but after some testing, I decided to settle with something similar to Astrolith conceptually. By that point, I already had a very solid base to work with, and countless ideas were just bubbling in my mind. One of the main things I really wanted to implement was the locomotive head, so I spent a couple hours making one of those, and it turned out pretty good. Over the next few days, I'd work on the part on and off, adding a few more details here and there, and also added the snowman made by Matthew, which I named Jaden. Afterwards, I decided the part needed a foreground, so using some text objects on font 12, I made these poles, which I connected using strings. And then I made some lanterns, and just added a ton of other details to enrich my foreground. I made a couple variations and kinda just spammed them around and made them move really fast. After that, I just grabbed some of those poles and darkened them to make a middle ground. And the part was really starting to come together. Now all I needed was a background. Thank you so much, Fox, for making this phenomenal background for me. So after tweaking some colors and adding a couple more details, the part was basically finished. Now here is the final product.